In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Imagine that the human body is like a massive orchestra, performing day and night without ever stopping. Every organ plays its role with remarkable precision. But every orchestra needs a conductor. And in the human body, that conductor is the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is located deep within the brain, just behind the nose, and it is connected to a region above it known as the hypothalamus. This area serves as a higher control center that oversees many of the body's vital functions. The hypothalamus continuously sends signals to the pituitary gland through the bloodstream, telling it when to release hormones and when to stop. For this reason, the pituitary gland can be considered the maestro that coordinates the activities of the body's other endocrine glands. The pituitary gland secretes a wide range of important hormones, including growth hormone, which is responsible for the growth of bones and muscles. One of the most important principles governing the endocrine system is a mechanism known as negative feedback. This mechanism is very similar to the thermostat in an air conditioning system. When the temperature reaches the desired level, the device automatically reduces or stops its activity. The same concept occurs inside the human body. When the pituitary gland releases TSH, thyroid-stimulating hormone, and it reaches the thyroid gland, the thyroid begins producing the hormones T3 and T4. As the levels of these hormones rise in the bloodstream, they send signals back to the brain and the pituitary gland, indicating that sufficient amounts have been produced. As a result, the pituitary gland reduces its secretion of TSH. This system prevents both excessive and insufficient hormone production, helping maintain the body's internal balance. The same principle applies to other hormonal pathways. The hormones FSH and LH are released from the pituitary gland, and they regulate reproductive functions in a similar feedback manner. Despite the fact that many pituitary hormones work by stimulating other endocrine glands, there are also hormones released by the pituitary gland that act directly on target tissues without the need for an intermediary gland. One of the most well-known of these hormones is growth hormone, or GH. This hormone travels directly to the bones, cartilage, and muscles, where it promotes growth, tissue building, and regeneration. During childhood and adolescence, it plays a crucial role in increasing height and developing muscle mass. In adults, it helps maintain muscle strength and bone health. Another important hormone is prolactin, commonly known as the milk-producing hormone. It is secreted by the pituitary gland and acts directly on the mammary glands in the breast to stimulate milk production after childbirth. Abnormally elevated levels of prolactin can lead to various disorders in both men and women. Another significant hormone is MSH, or melanocyte-stimulating hormone. One of the most important principles governing the endocrine system is a mechanism known as negative feedback. This mechanism is very similar to the thermostat in an air conditioning system. When the temperature reaches the desired level, the device automatically reduces or stops its activity. The same concept occurs inside the human body. When the pituitary gland releases TSH, or thyroid-stimulating hormone, and it reaches the thyroid gland, the thyroid begins producing the hormones T3 and T4. As the levels of these hormones rise in the bloodstream, they send signals back to the brain and the pituitary gland, indicating that sufficient amounts have been produced. As a result, the pituitary gland reduces its secretion of TSH. This system prevents both excessive and insufficient hormone production, helping maintain the body's internal balance. The same principle applies to other hormonal pathways. The hormones FSH and LH are released from the pituitary gland and travel to the ovary. In the ovaries, these hormones stimulate the production of estrogen and progesterone, the primary female sex hormones. As their levels increase in the bloodstream, the ovaries send feedback signals to the pituitary gland, instructing it to reduce the release of FSH and LH. In men, FSH and LH stimulate the testes to produce sperm cells and the hormone testosterone. When testosterone levels become sufficiently high, it also sends feedback signals to the brain and pituitary gland, indicating that production is adequate. This process is not limited to the thyroid gland or the reproductive organs. The adrenal glands, located above the kidneys, operate under the same principle. The pituitary gland releases ACTH, or adrenocorticotropic hormone, which stimulates the adrenal glands to produce cortisol and adrenaline. As the levels of these hormones rise in the blood, they send signals that reduce or suppress further ACTH production. This delicate balance allows the body to adapt to changing conditions. During periods of increased energy demand or physical and emotional stress, hormone production can temporarily increase. Once the need passes, hormone levels return to their normal range through the negative feedback mechanism. Without this regulatory system, the endocrine system would become disorganized, causing hormone levels to rise to dangerous extremes or fall to levels that could impair essential bodily functions. Negative feedback is therefore one of the body's most important protective mechanisms. It ensures stability, preserves hormonal balance, and allows the endocrine system to respond efficiently to changing physiological demands while maintaining overall health. Despite the fact that many pituitary hormones work by stimulating other endocrine glands, there are also hormones released by the pituitary gland that act directly on target tissues without the need for an intermediary gland. One of the most well-known of these hormones is growth hormone, GH. This hormone travels directly to the bones, cartilage, and muscles, where it promotes growth, tissue building, and regeneration. During childhood and adolescence, it plays a crucial role in increasing height and developing muscle mass. In adults, it helps maintain muscle strength and bone health. Another important hormone is prolactin. Abnormally elevated levels of the milk-producing hormone can lead to various secreted by the pituitary gland and acts directly on the mammary glands in the breast hormone to stimulate milk production after melanocyte-stimulating hormone, which is involved in the production of melanin. Melanin is the pigment responsible for the color of the skin, hair, and eyes. Changes in the levels of this hormone may lead to alterations in skin pigmentation or increased skin darkening. This once again highlights the importance of the pituitary gland, because any dysfunction within it does not affect just one organ. Instead, it can influence multiple body systems simultaneously. Problems may appear in growth, fertility, menstrual cycles, sexual function, skin pigmentation, or milk production. For this reason, understanding the function of the pituitary gland is a fundamental step toward understanding the endocrine system as a whole. This small gland, located deep within the brain, controls a complex network of hormonal signals that influence most organs throughout the body. When we view the endocrine system from this perspective, we realize that it is not merely a collection of separate glands. Rather, it is an interconnected system that depends on constant communication between the brain and various endocrine organs. A disruption in one link of this chain can trigger a cascade of changes affecting multiple systems throughout the body. That is why physicians and researchers pay close attention to the pituitary gland when studying hormonal disorders. It is often the starting point for understanding many symptoms that may seem unrelated at first glance, but are actually connected through the body's intricate hormonal control network. After understanding how the pituitary gland communicates with the thyroid gland, an important question emerges. What does an elevated TSH level actually mean? Many people assume that a high TSH automatically means the thyroid gland is failing. While this can sometimes be true, the reality is often more complex. The endocrine system operates through multiple layers of communication and regulation, and a single laboratory value does not always tell the entire story. The pituitary gland continuously monitors hormone levels in the bloodstream. When thyroid hormone levels begin to decline, even slightly, the pituitary gland responds by releasing more TSH. This additional stimulation acts as a signal encouraging the thyroid gland to work harder and maintain adequate hormone production. In many situations, the thyroid gland may still be producing normal amounts of T3 and T4 despite elevated TSH levels. This can occur because the pituitary gland is increasing its efforts to compensate. Because the pituitary gland influences so many endocrine organs, disturbances within this gland can produce a wide variety of symptoms that may initially appear unrelated. For example, changes in reproductive hormones can affect fertility, menstrual regularity, ovulation, and reproductive health. In women, disruptions involving FSH and LH may contribute to irregular menstrual cycles and difficulties with conception. In men, hormonal imbalances can influence sperm production and testosterone levels. Abnormal hormone regulation may also affect skin pigmentation. Since melanocyte-stimulating hormone is connected to melanin production, alterations in hormonal signaling can contribute to visible changes in skin color or areas of increased pigmentation. In addition, elevated prolactin levels may interfere with reproductive function and may cause unexpected milk production in certain situations. These effects demonstrate how a single hormonal disturbance can influence multiple organs. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone because it helps the body adapt during periods of increased demand. It supports energy production, influences metabolism, regulates inflammation, and helps maintain normal physiological function during challenging situations. Adrenaline, on the other hand, prepares the body for immediate action. It increases heart rate, improves blood flow to muscles, and enhances alertness. This response is commonly known as the fight or flight response. Under normal circumstances, cortisol and adrenaline rise when needed and decline once the challenge has passed. To fully appreciate the endocrine system, it is important to understand the central role of energy metabolism. Every cell in the human body depends on a continuous supply of energy to perform its functions. Glucose serves as one of the body's primary energy sources. Cells use glucose along with oxygen to generate the energy required for movement, growth, repair, and countless biological processes. This relationship connects humans to the natural world in a remarkable cycle. Plants absorb carbon dioxide and water, and through photosynthesis, produce glucose and oxygen. Humans consume food containing glucose and breathe oxygen to generate energy. During this process, carbon dioxide and water are produced and released back into the environment. Plants then use these materials again, creating a continuous cycle that supports life on Earth. The endocrine system helps regulate how energy is stored, released, and utilized. Hormones coordinate the movement of nutrients throughout T. As we reach the end of today's journey into the fascinating world of the endocrine system, one thing becomes clear. The human body is far more connected and intelligent than most people realize. Behind every heartbeat, every thought, every emotion, and every stage of growth, a complex network of hormones is constantly working to keep us alive and in balance. Understanding how these systems work is the first step toward understanding our health, our energy, and even many of the symptoms we experience in daily life. If you found this video helpful, share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a hormonal imbalance or learned something new from today's discussion? I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you're passionate about learning more about the science of the human body, health, aging,